Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis, and today I'm very grateful, very humble to be joined by Sharon Kirstin. Sharon, we have a mutual friend. I was encouraged to reach out to Sharon and get her on for a chat. We have both had interesting stories of awakening. We've spoken for the last half an hour about some different things, and we seem to be on the same wavelength. So that's really, really good. Sharon's had an awesome journey. She's done a lot of things, has many hats, still studying too, which is pretty impressive. If you want to reach out to Sharon, jump on her website and links will be in the bottom. But Sharon is a master mindset coach, best-selling author, has her own podcast, and she's got many other things, quantum healing and all sorts of stuff too. So she has many hats and she's still studying to get more hats. So that's really good to see too. And she's an awesome person. We've spoken for the last half an hour. I'm looking forward to hearing her journey. I have read a bit about it on her website, but I also wanted to be like you guys and hear it straight from the source. So I'm looking forward to hearing about her journey, her work, her message, and how we can keep raising the vibration and raising the energy of the people here and start shining some light. So Sharon's another one just like me that's helping many, many people. So she's awesome. Looking forward to hearing her story. And Sharon, welcome to my show. And thank you for coming on, and let's rock and roll.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No worries. You want to? Oh, sorry. You want to jump on? So Sharon, your story.
Okay.
I love it. This is so authentic right now. I'm not even going to edit that bit out.
Okay, you want to hear my story? All
Absolutely,
good.
yeah.
I was
We're not
literally
editing that.
so attentively listening just to hear a question.
That's okay. Well, you can. Oh, so Sharon, would you like to share your story with my audience, please? I'm not editing that. That's not being edited.
No, this is just how it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess the short story of it all is I started out, well, I grew up in Germany. I live in Australia now. And I was just, I would say, indoctrinated into everything that we should do, be a good student, go to school, go to university, get all the degrees I already have. Because it's funny you say I'm still learning. That's definitely something that I keep doing because I also have 2 degrees from university, one from Germany, one from America.
There you go.
And and I did the whole thing. Like I did my, I got my corporate jobs, and I was a good little soldier working for the corporate world, giving up my whole life and sense of self, becoming this job. And it was a good time as well. Like I can't say that I didn't like it, but I basically just worked all the time. I helped build one of the most successful e-commerce companies in Europe, which is called Zalando. Here it's called The Iconic. It's the same incubator.
Yes. Heard of them.
Yeah. So I helped build that pretty much from just a few people to over 10,000 people. And but I became that job. But at some point, since I was only working and I only used the weekends to regain some strength to start working again on Monday, I just realized that there was a voice inside of me that said, it's time. And I was like, oh, what was that voice? Like I literally kept hearing it as a person standing next to me saying, it's time. And I already was very much primed, I would say, by my dad, who got into spirituality when I was really young, when my parents got divorced, because he started questioning life. Why is this happening? How did I have everything and now I lost it? And so I was already on a spiritual path in a way, but not very dedicated. But this inner feeling where I felt I'm not connected to my soul anymore. Like I feel like a soulless zombie just doing the same thing over and over. I went to a yoga teacher training actually at the time, which was in the Himalayan mountains in India. And in meditation, I had an experience where I felt like it, at the time, I would have described it as I don't know, like I felt like I was leaving my body a little bit. Probably it wasn't like a real out of body experience, but it was like my consciousness kind of had a different experience, and I saw the world differently, and I heard voices and I saw visions, and this loud voice said, you created this life and you can create differently. You can recreate this life. And that felt really powerful for me, because I thought living this corporate lifestyle and doing the things that society expects you expects you to do is the only way to live life. But then I kind of had permission to maybe try something else. And that's how I started looking into, coaching, trance processes, hypnosis, energy healing, and all these things. And at some point, I just couldn't really work in corporate anymore. And I just had to ditch out and be a crazy person, who does weird things.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's powerful you talk about that little voice, because I had the same voice tell me that I should stop drinking and partying and chasing women. I should start walking my path. I'm intrigued. Did that voice come from where did that voice come from? Was it from within? Was it we can go woo-woo here. Was it a spirit guide of yours? Like, where did that voice come from for you? Because I know where mine came from.
Yeah, I don't know where mine came from, actually.
Oh,
Like,
really?
I couldn't tell you. Like, it was just really a voice that sounded as if someone is talking to me, like you're talking to me right now. But I never really assessed where it came from. It just felt like this is a message for me that I need to listen to. And I feel for me, it was also like I started feeling more and more uncomfortable where I was, because there was a time working in corporate where I felt very comfortable and I was really excited and it was fun. But then it got less and less fun, and my body felt constricted and uncomfortable, and I started having aches and pains. So it was almost like maybe like a sign from inside that was saying, look, this is not right for you anymore, and you got to do something different.
That's powerful, because I had the same voice. I was living a lifestyle that was dragging me down the gutter, and it was pretty cool, because I had some spirit guides of mine come to me and say, look, there's something better for you here, and walk this path. And it's like, well, yeah. And then sort of started the dark night of the soul stuff. That's what I call it. So how was that process for you? Like, leaving a job like that? Like, I was a teacher, as my listeners will know. So I was in that system. It's like, how did that process go of, I guess, release, like letting go of that old version of you and that old job to then forge your own path? How was that process for you? Because that's where the dark night of the soul rears up usually.
Yeah. Love that question. Just a quick comment. I think it's actually good that it was so different for you and me, because you seem like you get very clear messages, and for you, it's very clear where it's coming from. For me at the time, it wasn't clear at all. And I wasn't really sure what was happening. And I feel a lot of people sometimes just have an inner knowing or a sense of this is not right. And I feel like something else could be right, but it's not like a clear cut, here's the plan and these are the things you need to do, and you know exactly where that message is coming from. Sometimes it's just an intuition or an inner sense. So for me, it felt more like that, even though I was guided throughout the whole process and everything showed up. And so for me, another thing that I just want to mention real quick is also that was the external journey, but I feel like we all go through an inner journey as well. And for me, in my life, I didn't know it at the time actually, but I've always struggled with depression and also forms of addiction with certain things. And I actually worked really hard. So there was a strong performance focus for me during the day, like my daylight persona. But at night, I felt like a failure. I felt weak because I had this addiction that, I was kind of trying to deal with, but I felt like I was living in a black hole that I just couldn't get out of. So it was actually a lot of, just trying to deal with things and trying to find a way out of the suffering. And I feel, I don't even know if there was a one moment that was the dark night of the soul. I kind of feel like there was an ongoing dark night of the soul in a way.
Mine was brutal. Yeah, you sort of like get through one thing and they hit you with another thing, and you're like, yep, all right, we'll go back in and go again. It's like, resonate with that. They sort of hit you with something, you get through that first little roadblock, and then you get another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then you're off on the path. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I think it's exactly like that. You have one after the other sometimes, because it's a continuous process of awakening. I wasn't fully awake at that point, like even starting or transitioning out of corporate. and starting to learn all these new tools around healing and coaching and helping people, I wouldn't say I was much more awake. Like there was a certain degree of liberation that happened and a breaking out or breaking free, like you say. But like there are so many times where we need to break free more and more and more, and really untwist our mind and unbind our mind from all the things that we've been conditioned with, because these conditionings are really strong.
Starts in the school system. That's what it's designed for. It's designed for conditioning, where you're in a system where you're building someone else's dream. You're not building your own. They teach you to write.
100%.
They teach you to write resumes and not business plans. So you're continually on that hamster wheel, building someone else's dream, hating what you're doing, and it's just continual. That's the school system.
And our parents reinforce it, right? Because from my generation, at least, like the one before, like my parents, you know, you can see it through the generations. It's like, okay, you need to have a certain kind of job in order to be safe. Like I could really see that narrative through the generations, from my grandparents to my parents to me.
Same.
Like, yeah, you need to have this and this education in order to do this thing that gives you money.
But it's one thing. Like I had a really awesome mentor last year tell me, and I think this is an awesome quote. It's like, you don't have to just be one thing. You can do and be multiple things. As soon as I heard that, I was like, let's go.
Absolutely.
It's powerful. Yeah.
Especially these are lovely words for a manifesting generator, aren't they? Like, I can do more things than just one.
Yeah. I don't have to just be a writer and a podcaster. I can be a coach. I can do this, da 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 da. It's like, I don't have to just be one thing. I can be multiple. That opened up Pandora's box for me, hearing that. That little version of Nathan, hearing that was like, bang, book written in 6 weeks.
Yeah. Do you know what you are in human design?
Projector.
A projector. Wow.
Yeah, there's a bit of a spoiler alert for. I'll actually go and do a video on that in the next couple of weeks, talking about my human design, but we'll just go with it now. Yeah, I'm a projector.
Nice.
Makes sense because I tend to project a lot.
You're a guide. And yeah, we're all projectors in that way.
Yeah. What's yours?
A manifesting generator.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just thought, because you said there is speed and there is variety, that there might be, like, you might be a manifesting generator, because that's usually what it is for manifesting generators. They're really fast and they don't stick with one thing, but they really enjoy doing multiple things at the same time.
Maybe I'm a bit of both.
That's not a thing, but
I'm not sure. But if you ask some people that are close in my circles, they'll definitely tell you that I'm a projector.
Yeah, I mean, you're a guide. So you're a coach and a guide. So I definitely believe that you're a projector.
Yeah.
Counselor.
Yes. It's just been an interesting chat so far. Thanks for jumping on. I was just going to ask you a few other things too. So I separate the two journeys. Like, you learn the truths of the world. That was my first experience, watching that Jeffrey Epstein doco and then going into that stuff, which is all dark stuff. I'm not going to talk about that. But then you sort of then learn all of that to then go within to learn your own. And it's like, well, that it's your darkness that you've learned the world darkness, and you got to learn your own. And how was that process for you in terms of learning your own? Well, sometimes we just say letting go of shit. So, like, how did you cope and deal with your shit? There you go. There's a question.
Lovely question. So I feel like I've been trying to fix myself forever, because my dad was into the whole personal development, spirituality stuff.
Yeah.
I learned early on that if, the whole projection thing, like if I'm annoyed with something that someone does, like I bring it back to myself. Okay, what's actually happening here? So I feel like for a long time, I got trapped in this whole mindset of I need fixing and I'm not good enough yet, which I tell my clients now is the biggest lie ever. You are perfect the way you are. There are just some thoughts and beliefs and programs and patterns and, all of this conditioning that has happened that is creating tension, that's creating problems for you right now. But it's about deconditioning all of that so that you can be authentically yourself again. And there is no problem at the core of who you are. And so Yeah, the real awakening I think came with plant medicine though.
Oh, hello. I haven't dabbled in that. I haven't really felt the need to. So what were you, without getting us booted off places, what were you dabbling into?
Mother medicine, so ayahuasca.
Oh, so yeah, I've interviewed a few people that have done that, had some interesting experiences. How was your experience? Like, I had one guy talking to like plants and trees and stuff. It's pretty cool. I can talk to plants and trees without taking that, but how did you go on your experience with that? Because this isn't medical advice, people out there either. Just disclaimer
Yeah,
alert.
this is for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
It showed me the darkness. Medicine, I'm just gonna say medicine.
Yeah.
Showed me the, I feel like there's such a difference if you watch a movie about Epstein or about the darkness in this world, and you actually viscerally live through it, and you're being shown stuff on, in a ceremony, because a ceremony is such an intense experience that it's not, oh, I mentally understand this is happening in this world, but you get this whole immersion into darkness, into the darkness within yourself, into how you've lied to yourself, how there is, like, to me, it was a very much an experience of understanding Satan,
Yep.
the satanic inversion on this planet. They told me, you know, sorry, now I'm speaking half sentences,
So,
but like medicine gives you what you need at that time based on where you're at in your evolution. For me, it gave me, of course, also personal things that I had to deal with that happened in my childhood that I thought I had dealt with, but obviously hadn't fully. But it gave me a whole overview of what this world is and the darkness in it. And it told me about history, told me about all sorts of things that I then confirmed again through my own research, because it gave me certain topics and insights. And then I kind of, because I had 40 ceremonies, and then I kind of started integrating all of these ceremonies, and information kept finding me that further explained what I was told. And so I feel for me in that case, it was very much an initiation into understanding not only how the darkness gets inside of us, because it does get inside of us through trauma, and then the trauma, it's almost energetically, it keeps building and building, and then the more energy it gets, it can go into physical illnesses, mental illnesses, and other problems. So I think through that, I understood how much more spiritual our world is than we're made to believe. It's a much more spiritual world than we think it is.
100%. Just like I can walk into the forest and have birds singing to me. Like, you can drive around in the car and you'll see 999 and 888 and 000. Like I saw on the trip home today. It's like they're always talking to you. Like, you'll pick up a feather, a white one or a black one or a grey one or a yellow one or a pink one or whatever. It's like they're always talking to you. And it's just a matter of listening. And it's like we've been conditioned not to listen through TV and music and social media and porn and drinking, eating bad food. It's like entertainment. It's like, don't sit with yourself, watch the screen and be programmed to lie, cheat, and steal. They're like programming you away from yourself, away from nature, and away from sitting with yourself and really listening to what really goes on around this place. Like, people have their AirPods in their ears, walking around, driving the car. It's like no one's listening to anything natural anymore. Like, I even see people when I ride my bike out in the bush, they have their AirPods in, or they have their phone in their hand. It's like, well, my phone's at home. I don't have AirPods because, well, they cause things that might be considered conspiratorial, but they do cause cancer, and they cause a lot of other things too. It's like, well, I don't need that in my ears. I'll just listen to the birds and the trees.
Yeah.
The sense of nature, it's beautiful. It relaxes me.
Yeah, but I also want to say that, sometimes the personal development messaging can be, you were doing it wrong. Like you should be, you know, the whole Tony Robbins thing as well, where it's like, oh, you shouldn't do this. You should do this. It's your fault that you're like this. But my experience has been people are actually innocent and there has been trauma, and it's not your fault that you're looking for, you know, the numbness that you want to numb out. Like it's not your fault. Like you didn't make this happen, and it's not that you need to kind of fix yourself now. It's actually approaching our own healing from that place of, let's be gentle to ourselves and actually not beat ourselves up again. Because I feel like that's what's happening anyway in this society, that we're constantly beat up about everything that we're not doing, and we should be better and faster, and we should do all these things, and should be and do all these things. So for me, with my clients, the big thing is always coming back to that innocence, where we are actually at the core innocent. The humans are innocent in general, but we don't understand how trauma impacts us long term, where then we almost become like, when it grows over time, we become so disabled in a way to deal with it, and we don't have the tools. And so the only tools that are available is the programming and the numbing and the mind control that's happening all the time. So it's easy to succumb to that and to, you know, get stuck in it. But I feel, yeah, you know, you're awake, I'm awake, and I feel a lot of people are waking up now to how they're keeping us asleep and how they're using trauma continuously, even if it's micro trauma, because not every trauma is the big T, the big trauma. Small traumas can, you know, accumulate, or even small traumas can lead to big patterns later on in our lives.
It's interesting that you bring up what you brought up before. I want to delve into this topic too. It's like, do you find that I don't want to cast too much judgment. Do you find that even like people like us, like we have our daily habits and our daily rituals that we do? It's like, I read a good post before I jumped on here. It's something like, people have forgotten how to live. And even if you're awake or not, you've forgotten how to live. Like, yeah, we're so focused on going to the gym and eating good food and meditating and all that. And then if we don't do it, it's like the end of the world. It's like, well, for me, it's not. If I don't do a meditation or go to the gym one day, it's fine. I'll just do something else. But it's like, we help people develop these self-care routines to a point where if they don't do it, they feel like they're uncomfortable and stuck again. It's like people have just, it's like, why don't you just live? If you don't feel like doing that today, then don't do it today. Read a book or do something. It's like, have we gone too far and people have forgotten how to actually live? Well, how do you see? It was just a good post I read before. And I'm like, I'm going to bring that up with Sharon today.
I love it.
Because I find if I don't do something in my self-care routine, well, then I wasn't supposed to do that today. You know, I wasn't supposed to meditate today, but I make sure I do them before I go to sleep so I can relax my central nervous system. But if you're just starting out and it's like, well, you know, you see someone like us and we're like, oh yeah, gratitude journal, eat good food, drink plenty of water, give them a list of shit to do. And then they forget to do something. It's like, oh no, I didn't gratitude journal today. Oh no, I didn't meditate today. Oh no, like, have we just gone too far with self-care and self stuff that we've just forgotten how to live?
I think if self-care, quote unquote, becomes a burden, it's not self-care anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, correct.
But yeah, I mean, how do you define living? I mean, the life that we live now in our modern society, that's probably not how someone a couple of 100 years ago would have defined life. We're way too fast. We have way too much information. Like I don't think our bodies are built to live this way. And that's why most people are, you know, depressed and anxious, and it's just too much. Yep. So if we then put up all of these expectations as well, where we're like, oh, I did, you know, my workout and my work and I took care of my partner and like all these things, but now I also got to journal and meditate. And it's just like, it's coming from that wound that has told us we're not good enough the way we are. We need to be perfect. We need to do more. We need to perform better. So I feel like we need to go back and look at, okay, where does that sense that you think you need to do all this stuff in order to be okay or in order to be good, where does that come from? And it's usually in childhood. It's some
Correct.
point in childhood, there was an experience that told you, you need to do this stuff in order to be loved and worthy. And
Yep.
so we need to go back to that moment in time and change it. Yeah. And that's, I often hear from my clients, you know what I love about working with you? It's like, I only need to show up for the session. You actually don't tell me to do anything else. You don't give me any homework. You don't tell
same
me
with my clients
anything
too.
else. Yeah, you just need to, like, I just need to show up. I'm in the session. We shift stuff. I don't know, like shit happens. It changes. And then life's just different. I'm like, yeah, that's because you don't have to do more. You just have to come back to who you've always been and embrace that again and let go of all that stuff that tells you otherwise.
And I encourage my clients to find what they're interested in. Like, I'd say this is what I do morning, noon, and night. Now you can do all of that or some of that. You can find what works for you. It's like we're all different. You know, you might not want to get up at 4 a.m. and go to the gym like I do. You may not want to meditate before you go to sleep like I do. You may not want to fast like I do. Like, find what works for you.
Yeah,
exactly. But this is the list of things that you can just try and do and see if you like it and see if it resonates. You don't have to do all of them, but there's, like, I gratitude journal too. I dabble in most of them each day, but I don't do a set thing every day. But my set thing every day is getting up at 4 a.m. and going to the gym.
Yeah.
Love doing that.
Exactly. Exactly. I think we need to assess what gives us energy and what makes us feel good.
Spot on.
For me, it's the same thing. Like, I know when I exercise, even though sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I don't feel too energetic right now, but I know I will feel great after doing it, and my day will run completely different. So I know a part of me wants to do it. And so I'm going to go and do it. And there are certain things, like you say, like, I know they're serving me and that's why I do them, but I don't do them because I have to, or someone told me I should, or someone said, if I exercise every day, then I'm going to have a certain result, something. I know what it makes me feel like, and that's what I'm going for. And so if gratitude journaling makes you feel a certain way, then go for it. If sipping your tea in the morning makes you feel warm and fuzzy and gives you a good start, then go do it. I feel more like there are some things that are probably more important, like detoxing, just taking care of our physical vessel so that we can actually get rid of any parasites or get rid of any, heavy metals that are interacting with the frequencies. And like, there is certain things that do make sense, so that we can be at a different vibration and actually be more connected and at peace, which should probably rather be prioritized than other stuff that's more fluffy, like, oh, you need to journal. But what if there's nothing to journal today?
Exactly.
It's okay.
Exactly. I agree with the detoxing and stuff too. I've dabbled in that as well. But when I move it to a warmer climate up north, I'll be definitely going full into the end of the detox and parasite cleansing stuff too, because we all have these things, and it's just a toxin buildup of the water you drink and the food we've been eating, and like the food we've been programmed to eat's not real food. So there's that as well, and that buildup causes these parasites around your gut, and then your gut, your brain connection. And it's like people, it's like we need to help them, I guess, understand that. You are working as designed, of course, but there's things going on inside your body that you can start to clear out so you can start to feel better again. And there's so many things, like we could talk for days about it. It's like visually, it's like, well, the porn's affecting your mind. Visually, watching car theft and rape and torture movies and TV shows affecting your mind. Then it's like the food you're eating, the water you're drinking. Like, there's so many things that we're being attacked with. I just say to my clients, progression, not perfection, and you'll get there. Just remove one thing slowly, because they can learn from me. Because for me, I removed everything at once and I was just super uncomfortable.
Oh, it gets uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I've reframed it for myself, saying, like, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm closer to, the source God, to true God, than anything else. Because if you're comfortable in this world, you're probably more likely to be closer to the God in the realm here. So if you're uncomfortable, you're on a good path.
Yeah.
You're changing your vibration to actually be uncomfortable. And it's okay to be uncomfortable. Embrace the discomfort. It's a beautiful thing. It means that you're actually changing and shifting things.
If
Like you said,
someone was to come to you with some sort of addiction or problem or something, what would be your advice to give those? Like, what would be your advice to those people that are stuck and struggling? For anyone out there that's listening, that's going, "Oh, I resonate with Sharon here, but I got some problems that need addressing."
We all got problems.
Oh yeah.
The way that I deal with trauma is I've learned a de-trauma technique. So it's basically a combination of rescuing our inner child and like a deconditioning set after that. So for me, the answer would always be the same. We need to go back to the moment in time where it started, and we need 100%. To give that part of ourselves, which is usually a child part, the safety, the love, and the resources that it didn't have in the moment. And once we give that part all of these things, it can come back into a union within ourselves. And it's no longer fighting us, because this part that needs the addiction, that needs whatever the addiction is, we're looking for something in the addiction, and often it's safety, it's feeling a certain way that, is the opposite of how we felt, because we maybe felt out of control, or maybe we felt unsafe or fearful, whatever it is. And we've built really smart coping strategies to still be functional. And we need to remember that the addiction is a coping strategy that works to keep you functional in your life. Oftentimes, it can get really dysfunctional too when it gets too much. But oftentimes people have addictions, but they're still functional, and it somehow serves them to stay functional. Like when I think back about what I went through, the addiction actually helped me stay functional. It helped me de-stress in a really weird way, which doesn't make sense, but it kind of helped me de-stress, numb, sort of deal with the stress that I was going through in a way. And it helped me like just keep going, even though it sounds ludicrous in a way. But oftentimes these strategies have meaning. But in order to really release it and let go of it, we need to just go right back to where it started and give ourselves all those things that we didn't have.
Do you guide people back there through a meditative state? Do you talk to that inner child? Like, I know for me, I know what the client needs. Like, if I need to take them back there in a meditative state, I will. But sometimes I can just say something that will trigger that little child, and I can talk to that child as the human version of them. Like, how's that process work for you? Like, there's so many different things. I know for me, when I did my inner child work, I went and saw a mentor of mine that opened it up for me, and then I can do it myself. I can take my mind and myself back to that moment and then say to that child, I am you, you are me, we are one. I stand before you. If it's a healthy thing or a cleaner, stronger, healthy version of you, let's rewrite your story. You were told something that's now not true, and I stand before you as my higher self, as whoever. Like, I'm going to become one with you and hug you and hold you and tell you what you need to hear. And I've found myself saying, I love you so much, or I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, I value you, I respect you. Like, for me to tell that child that, like, I've cried so much doing this now. Like, it's the most powerful thing. And then to then help others go back with them, it's like the subconscious remembers everything anyway. You just block those memories because it's hard to go back, but we provide that safe space for you to go back. But yeah, how do you, so if someone was to come and have a session with you, how would you take them back to their inner child and help them reparent it?
I have various different processes that I basically choose from, depending on what the client presents with. If it's a bigger trauma, it's not helpful to go into deep hypnosis because it can feel unsafe again. You're losing control again. So I would take them through a lighter process that is still visual, where you're still rescuing your inner child and where you're having, that whole experience of reconnecting and reuniting with your inner child. But in a way that feels safe to do. There are also other processes that use deeper hypnosis or meditative states or trance states, but it's always working with the unconscious mind. It's always working with the pictures that your unconscious mind presents so that we can heal that part. Because it's all stuck in the unconscious mind. It's in that hidden part of ourselves that we don't, like you said, we don't have conscious access to it. So we don't really, in our everyday consciousness, sometimes we can't really say where it started. But when we're in a trance state and then in this meditative state, we suddenly can allow the unconscious mind to present us the pictures and the memories so that we can go back there.
Yeah. I know I tend to get real personal with these podcasts sometimes, Sharon. So I'm going to ask you, you don't have to answer the question, but how did you heal your inner child?
Through these kinds of processes.
Is that through learning? So you learned this and did it. Yeah. We all go through these processes, learn them and do them on ourselves first. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's exactly how it is. Like with any healer, like you have pain.
Yep.
You have something going on inside you. I think you don't become a healer or someone helping people unless you're in excruciating pain yourself and you're trying to find solutions. And so yeah, I've learned so many different modalities. But once I stumbled or was guided to NLP, the unconscious mind, hypnosis, trance processes, and all of these things, that's when I really saw massive shifts and really big results. Because they worked with that part of our self, the shadow self, to actually start integrating these aspects that are dark into our being. And I feel a lot of spiritual people, the fake spiritual people basically talk about the light, and you need to only focus on the light and you need to be positive all the time. And when you have negative emotions and you're such bad vibes and all of this stuff, it's just gaslighting people away from where the transformation actually is. So I think I was probably in that trap for a while too. And so I'm
not the only one.
Yeah, it's out there. It's a trap.
Yeah.
But then once I actually realized, okay, now I got to go to the darkness, because as long as it's the same within ourselves, but as it is in the collective outside of ourselves, as long as we ignore the Epsteins of this world, as long as we ignore that there is darkness in this world, we can never fully awaken. We can never really understand what the truth is. And we can never step into our power, because the power is in actually being able to see the darkness, to witness it, to sit with it, to integrate it, to love it. I mean, in ourselves, to actually find that transformation so that it no longer opposes us. Because as long as we keep that inner child that's hurt from any sort of trauma in the shadow, in the hidden realm within ourselves, it will oppose us and it will come in. We're like, yes, I'm going to build a successful business and I'm going to put myself out there. And then there's this inner child somewhere in the hidden realm within us that we don't even know exists. And it's like, oh, hell no, I'm not putting myself out there. I'm going to be
12 months.
invisible. Yeah, and it's going to interfere with your goals. So if you don't reach your goals and if you have dreams and you're just not taking the action, you feel like you're self-sabotaging, you're not showing up in those moments, it's because there is an inner child within you that doesn't feel safe to actually do all these things. And if you give that child the safety and the resources, and it comes back into you and into your heart, and you find that union that you spoke of as well, that's when it unlocks. But you can't force yourself. Like, it's like forcing a child who's scared to do something that it doesn't want to do. It's never going to do it. It's just going to scream louder.
100%.
Yeah.
The longer you ignore it, the worse it gets too. Like, the more pain you're going to be in, then the more likely you're going to pick up these things and start sedating and numbing and avoiding and running away. I often call myself an Olympic sprinter. I was like the Usain Bolt of running away from pain for a long time.
Yeah.
Until I was able to sit with myself and understand that, there's another way here. And yeah, you're right. There's always an inner child there blocking something that you want to do. Like, if you want to sing that song or do that dance or write that blog, start the podcast or the business. Yeah, you're right. I know for me, when I started this podcast, there was an inner child there that was afraid to speak up, was afraid that his voice wasn't worthy, his voice wasn't enough. So yeah, I went back to that child and sorted it out, gave it some love, and boom, podcast started. It's like, we're just unlearning everything that we learnt inside this school system, aren't we? Because I know I was a teacher for a long time, and the education system's it's not great. We all know that, but a lot of my programs were picked up inside that system. Like most of them.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, even that we are tested all the time, like that's traumatic. The stress that kids go through, and just, oh, you need to memorize this by heart and then recite it. And if you can't, then, you know, you're tested upon all these things. And
they don't matter crazy. Anyway. Like none of it matters.
Absolutely not. You don't need any of these things. Like maybe
and
basic
you're always
maths
and you're always being taught.
skills.
Yeah, and you're always being taught to compare yourself to others. It's like, well, the smart kid, be more like the smart kid. What if the smart kid doesn't? Like, you're always looking at other people instead of looking at yourself. Like, it starts in school, the whole thing. It's like when I wrote my book, I was always one to write about footy and like cricket and sport and stuff. But the teacher was like, oh, you got to stop writing about that stuff and start writing what everyone else is writing. That crushed me. I was like, what they're writing is garbage. I don't write that crap. And then that was my writing ability gone. It's like, well, what I was writing wasn't worthy. Yes. So then I went back to that child and reparented that child, and then wrote my book. And now it's like, no one's ever going to take that power away from me.
Yes.
And once you know and understand and feel that no one's ever going to take that power away, could be anything, could be the abuse, could be the trauma, could be being told that your voice doesn't matter or your work doesn't matter. It's like, you can go back to that child and tell it that, yes, your voice matters, yes, your work matters, and really feel that. You can then propel forward. As you said, it propelled me forward. Like, I wrote a book in 6 weeks, just having that passion and that drive back to be like, oh, I can write about whatever I want to write about. Then I went back to my my old like school books, and I had some old like novels in there. I was writing like fantasy stories and shit. I'm like, these need to be seen by the world. So it's like, well, I want to put them out there as well. It's like that kid's like getting his validation finally. And to be able to feel that, it's like, we can help people feel that. It's your validation, and no one's ever going to take that away from you.
Yeah, there is this whole wound around, you're not good the way you are, right? Like, that's what we're told constantly. You need to be different. You're too loud. You're too silent. You're this, you're that. Like, there are constantly all these suggestions.
And then when you're in a sibling, it's like, you need to be more like what John's doing. Be more like your brother. Be more like your sister. It's like, people are just like, why can't I just be me? It's like, well, yes, you can be you. You don't have to compare yourself to your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, Joe Blow down the road, Tom, Dick, and Harry at the local cafe. It's like, you can just be you. Doesn't matter.
And in my generation, there was also a lot of messaging from parents around kids are seen, not heard. So there was very clear expectations of how a kid should behave, and to kind of fall in line and not to be, obnoxious basically to older people, which is, kids should be obnoxious and annoy adults. We should learn from them, and we should be inspired by how free they are and how they do things, and not, because oftentimes the messaging, I feel the school system is definitely a big piece, but also our parents have been traumatized and they've been programmed. So it's almost like a virus that keeps going from one generation to the next, where there is this whole effect through the generations of what is expected, what's not expected, who you should be. And
it's going straight down it's like it's going from family to family to family and generation to generation. It's like, it stops with us.
And naturally,
I know I'm here to break this for my side of family. I'm here to break this spell. It's like, I'm showing you another way here.
Absolutely. And kids don't do or become what you tell them to. They become who you are. So they look at you, they witness you, they see how you are dealing with dad. So a daughter will basically mimic what the mother is doing. And if you have patterns that are not healthy with your partner or other people, she will see it, because kids, they are alert and they do understand more than we think. And she will copy it because she thinks that's how it's done.
That's the story that these kids tell themselves. Oh, It's a subconscious story. It's like, well, this is what it takes to be safe. And I often say that we're pack animals and we like to bond with our parents, and we'll pick up the things they do as a bonding safety mechanism, because we're just as much a pack animal as the rest. It's like, what's the bigger herd doing, saying, or thinking? Let's follow them. Look how the last 3 years was all orchestrated. They put the number of people that had their first pushing poison underneath their skin dose. It's like 90% of people. It's like, if you hadn't had it yet and you're a people pleaser, you're a first in line. You're like, everyone else has got it. My turn.
Oh, they put up so much pressure onto people, though.
But they know how powerful this part of the mind is. I call it a supercomputer. It's like, when you're a kid, you're picking up on your programs from your parents, the school, your friends of friends, parents' friends. It's like, and then you deem alcohol or smoking as a numbing of pain. Well, it's like, if you see your parents numbing their pain through smoking and drinking, it's like, well, you deem that as safe. So you're going to do that as your safety mechanism. That's your safe.
Yeah.
We're mirroring, mimicking, copying those around us more than we can ever know. It's like when a song comes on and you hear someone singing it, and then 3 days later you're singing it. It's like you.
Yes.
If someone says a catchphrase from a movie, then you find yourself saying it. It's that same part of the mind. It's like, well, you're saying that because you're fitting in with, like, you're copying them. Like, when you realize this information and none of your thoughts and stuff and the things you say are your own, it's like, well, shit, what is authentic to me? That's when the inner work starts. It's like, well, yeah, where is my authenticity?
It's so interesting when you say that. It brings me back to what you said earlier, because like with the whole routines, because we're in this automatic behavior like 95% of the day. Like, everything is so automatic to us. We go to the kitchen, we get the same cup, we drink the same coffee, we go to the car, we park the car where we park the car, we use the car in the same way. Like, if we actually start looking at it, we're like little computers.
Yep.
And the people controlling us, they know how easy it is to control us. The chemicals in the air, the water, the food, the frequencies now, and also our whole body is built to be a little microcomputer of its own. And the unconscious mind is so powerful. Why do you think we have TV? Because it's programming. There's a program on TV.
It's called program for a reason.
Exactly. And, back in the day, we used to have this program book where we could see all the programs that are on, and we could check, okay, on Wednesday at 8 p.m. there's this movie.
TV guide.
Exactly. But it in German, it was actually called like a program book. So it's
really?
like it's literally like it when we look at the word and the language used, there is not even like, they're being so clear about what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
It's programming. And now we have these computers everywhere in our pocket. We're getting used to the devices. We freak out if we go anywhere without a phone, and we don't have access to all of our bank accounts and social media and whatever at any given point in time.
AI.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, we could do a whole nother podcast on that, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so spot on. Like, they're always telling you what they're doing in the programs too. Like, the movies are there for a reason,
It is literally them telling you what they've done, what they're doing, or what they're about to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's gaining that conscious awareness to turn your back on that and be uncomfortable with leaving your phone at home. If everyone's listening and watching out there, like, I know for me, I go out in the bush all the time and my phone's sitting at home. I don't need it. Yeah. I don't care what time I come home. Like, I'm not bound by time.
Yes. And also just turning it off and on airplane mode and just like not being on it. I think it's really
the big one. The big one for the youth out there is like, they're on it like 12 hours a day, and they're on it of a night before they go to sleep. And it's like, our circadian rhythm. A lot of youth people too, the circadian rhythms are just out of whack, aren't they?
And that creates a lot of disease. Like, that is one of the main drivers of, your body not being in balance. So actually turning off the phone, and there is even a setting where you can make sure that the phone adjusts a little bit in the evening so that there is more red light and less blue light.
Yeah.
It's not super strong, but it does make a little bit
Like
of a
you can see my
difference.
glasses here for those that are watching on YouTube and Rumble. Like the blue light's bouncing
Mhm.
off these glasses is the reason why I wear them in every podcast I do.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
got the red light ones of a night as well. And if you look at the links in the bottom of this podcast, ones that are listening, I can get you 15% off purchases on BonCharge. Jump on there and grab yourself some glasses and protect yourself and get your circadian rhythm back in order.
Yeah. I mean, I often wear glasses when I'm on the computer, so I can't wear two sets of glasses. That would look funny. But I use a program that basically changes my screen. And so it pulls out the blue light in the evening. And there is, like, even during the day, I think there is much less blue light, because sometimes I look at other people's screens and I'm like, how can you look at this? This is so
Yeah.
painful to my
TVs
eyes.
these days too, like you can see it in the shadow, like it's just blue. The whole thing's blue. It's like you look in the screen, it's like, the
Yeah.
people are blue. It's like in that film clip, that blue song. I don't know why that came to my head then. Avatar and that. It's like they're all blue. Another
Yes.
thing, another time. Yeah. Thank you for jumping on today, Sharon. It's been an awesome chat.
Yeah, thanks for
If there's a
having me.
piece of advice out there for someone listening, we've covered a whole range of topics today. It's been awesome. If there's someone out there listening that's I guess resonated with what you've had to say and what we've discussed today, what would be your advice to start, I guess, their own inner journey?
You know, Carl Jung said, who looks outside dreams and who looks within awakens. And I think that's what we all need to start doing. We need to start looking within ourselves and find that inner freedom. And that only comes by looking at the parts that are dark, that are scary, that we've been hiding from, like you said, running away from, and we've all done it. But if I had any sort of advice, I would be, go run towards the parts that hurt, that are painful, and find someone who can hold you through that, because I understand that it can be difficult to do this by ourselves, and sometimes it could even be re-traumatizing to try to do that by ourselves. So find someone that you trust and who can actually hold you through the process of healing, and and start detoxing those toxic emotions, start detoxing your mind and body in all ways, so that you can actually start seeing the truth and finding the truth within and without.
It's an awesome piece of advice. And just a quick one, we'll finish on this. A lot of people are programmed not to ask for help. It's a sign of weakness. I know people that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, that's a big program not to ask for help. And you can see it in those people that like you can offer the hand, but then they're not going to take it. It's like, that's a huge program. So anyone listening out there, please reach out and ask for help, especially from someone that's lived through what you've lived, so you can learn from their mistakes. You don't have to make the same mistakes they did, and it can propel you forward so quickly. And I think Sharon's testament to that as well.
Yeah, I think both of us are. And I couldn't agree more. I know a lot of people who think they need to figure it out themselves. And I actually think for some time, I believed I need to figure it out for myself.
Oh, I've been there too.
Yeah, but somehow like a weird belief around, if I figure it out myself, then I've earned it. Like then it's better than if someone else helps me. It's like a completely weird construct that was going on there. But it's actually that kind of construct keeps us in the prison. And it's probably out there for us to not awaken and not go search for the help, because the help is actually, like you say, going to catapult us forward.
That was an awesome chat. Thank you for jumping on today, Sharon. We'll have to do this again, I reckon. And we'll have to just concentrate on like 2 or 3 topics instead of just
I think so.
having like hundreds of them and just sort of like delving into them. So be good to get you back on and have another chat in the near future. I reckon people will really love listening to you speak. So you're a wealth of knowledge and you've lived a life, and thank you so much for jumping on today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
We'll have Sharon's links in the bottom. Where can people find you, Sharon? Where's the best place they can find you? Your website or?
Yeah, SharonKirstin.com, or on Instagram, Sharon_Kirstin.
Yep.
I also recently released a book that's called Shadow Work that people can find on Amazon if they were wanting to start their own shadow work and, just start by themselves and start getting a little bit of a taster and start their own realizations on the path.
That's awesome. We'll put a link to that in the bottom too. Then we'll link to that book as well. So that'd be awesome for people to go and have a read of. You've also got another book here too. I was reading that before, called the Answers Within as well.
It is. Yeah.
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 2
So there's
books
another book.
on
Yep.
Amazon.
Beautiful. Thank you for jumping on today, Sharon. This has been the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Reach out to Sharon, reach out to me for help, and let's overcome our own self-sabotage and become better versions of ourselves for our families, our future families, and for those around us to make this world a better place. Because right now we can all confidently put our hands up and say the world is not as a better place than when we found it. We need to leave this place better than when we found it. So let's all become better and raise our vibrations. So thank you for listening and watching wherever in the world you are. And I'll see you guys again real soon with some awesome guests. So thank you and goodbye. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.